Welcome to Mini Moderns. My name's Simone and thank you for joining me on my tiny corner on the miniature interweb where we're here to think big, build small. So let's get into it. Before we jump into the video, I don't want to do a super long intro, but first I want to welcome in all of my new subscribers. We've got more Mini Moderners to hang out with. Welcome in, guys. Shout out to my OGs, my originals, the ones who hang it in there from the beginning. We've got so much more to do, guys. I appreciate you all. Big shout out to all of my Patreons and also my members in my miniature Facebook group, Think Big, Build Small. Head over there. I'm really getting to connect with you guys now on more intimate, private level, and I love it. I love seeing your work and just connecting with you guys. So head over to my Patreon, to my Facebook. As I normally say, the link is going to be in the description for everything that I'm going to be using in this diorama. I've got so much to show you. This is the final for our New Year's Eve party. If you've been watching from the beginning, we have now come to the crescendo. I hope it's what you want. I hope you're here for it because we've got so much. We're going to be making food, dolls. We've got a whole thing going, guys. So I hope you're prepared for this. As I said, I don't really want to babble on too much, but I will let you know there will be a link in the description for my Etsy store where you can get all of my printables and other goodies, which are coming soon. My Patreon, I do a mini Monday post every Monday just to keep you updated on what's to come and what's not to come. And as I said, my Facebook group for the private chit chats. Guys, get yourself involved, get your tea, coffee, whatever you're going to need for this diorama because it's going to be a big one, but it's going to be a full one. And I'd love to hear all of your comments and feedback. Let me know if you guys get some value out of it and what was your favorite part. Guys, without further ado, go and sit back, relax. Let's begin our summer with a New Year's Eve party. Yeah? All right. Let's go, baby. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
So to get started with this final video, I'm going to be making some yogurts to put in the fridge. These printables will be available in my Patreon shop and my Etsy store, so definitely check them out. And if you're a tier 2 or above in my Patreon, these are for free in the shop as well. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the 4 strips and the square. The square is going to represent the lid for the yogurts and the strips are going to represent the pot of the yogurt. And then we're going to take a bamboo skewer with a little bit of glue at the end of the paper and wrap it around to form a tiny little tube, which will be the yogurt pot. So it looks a little something like this with glue on the end. Then we're going to turn the lid side over and then just stick that on just like that. And if you wanted to add a base to it, you could just stick some paper across the base and cut it out. But this is going to be stuck in my fridge. But here you can see it's a nice little tiny pot of yogurt. And then I'm going to stick all of the rest of them on, or you can take one off just to give it that it's been used feel. There's 2 sizes in the pack. We've got some Activia. Very good for the gut. And I've also removed one so you could just cut it out and just so it looks like this. And as I said, we've got 2 sizes. You can stick them on top of each other, put them in the fridge, do your thing. But here you go. And they've got the barcode on there. They look super cool. And now we can actually stick them together. So what I do is just put a little bit of glue on the top of the lid and add my other pile of yogurts on top of it, just to give it that nice aesthetic look. And then we're ready to go. We've got our stack of yogurts. Another thing that I like to do as well to give it that realism is paint the paper using tacky glue. It gives it that nice little gloss effect and it makes it look a little bit more realistic. So damn cute. And now it can go in the fridge. Check out how I made the fridge in a previous video. And like any good old house party, we need food, and not just any food. Junk food. So we're going to make some noodles. So I made this noodle box cutout. I'm actually quite thrilled with how this turned out. So I've made this little noodle box. I stick my little template onto some cardstock and then cut it out just to get a firmer hold, and then fold it and stick it into place. I do love experimenting with making things from paper. It's great for beginners and it's also cool for professionals, people who've been doing this for a long time. They want to get the look without all of the drama. So once I've made my box, I then just get some paper and just stick that down to the bottom of the box to fill it up a little bit. I then use my printout of the noodles and stick that on top of the paper, just using some tweezers to help along, fold the edges just to give it that extra little bit of realism and noodly look. Yeah, I said it. And we can mess around with the box and get it to look however you like. I want it to look a bit rough and used. As I said, this is teenagers having a house party. Nothing is going to look good in this house, but this does. This looks pretty damn good so far. What I would advise as well is using tacky glue on the box again, just to get that gloss and firmness. And then I'm going in with my actual gloss just to give the noodles that little shiny texture and effect. You can see here it's already looking pretty real, if you ask me. I'm going to leave those to dry, and now we're going to move on to the sink, because a lot goes down in the sink, guys, let me tell you. First, I'm going to add some dirt to these plates using some chalk pastels. These plates are also part of a printable set that I have on my Etsy store and my Patreon shop. Gotta check it out, guys. Like I've said many times, working with paper is so great. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it's beginner friendly, and everyone can do it. So now that the plates are dirty, it's time to make the rest of the details for the sink. So I'm going to use some UV resin to represent some water. I'm using a beginner friendly kit. I will leave a link in the description for that and everything that I'm going to be using in this project. So first I'm just going to make a few little streaks of the water, and then I'm going to use the UV light to let that set and cure. Once it's cured, I can remove it off my silicone mat. I can't stress enough how much a silicone mat is useful when you're working with UV resin. You see, I've got lots of tiny stems of water, and I've also made some tiny little beads and droplets. And here I'm going to make some murky water just using some resin and chalk pastels. I'm going to mix that in just to make it look dirty and murky to put at the bottom of the sink, because this bad boy hasn't been cleaned in a little while. Once that's cured, I peel it off the mat, and then I'm going to add this to the bottom of the sink again using UV resin. And I've got a nice little handheld UV light. It's perfect for little small spaces. I add some more UV resin to fill the sink up with water a little bit. And now it's time to add some plates. I'm going to add some UV resin to the bottom of the plate and then let them cure using my handheld light. I'm going to keep on doing that until I'm happy with what I've got in the sink. Just get those dirty plates piled up in there. Now, as this is a freeze frame of chaos diorama, the water is going to be running and it's going to be splashing everywhere. So to get that kind of effect, I use the streaks of water that I made and I cure those onto the tap. I wanted the sink to look like someone actually tried to do the dishes. So we're going to make a little bit of froth, a little bit of foam using UV resin and chalk pastels to get that white little texture that we can put in the sink, because someone did try to do the dishes, okay? So I'm going to put some white droplets on top of the sink to get that foamy look and then just cure it. Ooh, and while I've got the little froth there, I add a little bit of brown to it just to add some tea stains into this little cup right here. I'm going to have the cup tipped over and dripping down the side a little bit. Let me tell you guys, once you get into the resin, there's no going back. The world is your oyster, my friend. The world is your oyster. Now back to the sink for the splash effect, getting some more of those little streaks and curing them so the water is hitting the sink hard. Look at that! These naughty little twats. If my kids ever. No, but we did that. And while we're on the subject of trash, let's make a trash can or a bin. So I've got this tube here that is for kitchen foil and a lid and a couple of strips of grey craft board and cardstock. That's what we're going to need to make this. So first I mark out how tall I want my bin to be and just add some markings of where I want my decorative strips to be. And the lid happens to fit perfectly on here as well, so I'm super happy about this. I'm going to make it a lid that's open because it's in use. So I'm going to use the grey craft board to stick on the lid and on the tube, and I'm going to have a small little bit of craft board to use as a little pedal, if that's what it's even called, but you know, the thing you step on to open the bin. Yep. And then we're going to use the cardstock to add the trimming around the top and bottom of the bin, and then a slightly thinner strip to put along the side of the bin. Those are all the decorative pieces, but first we need to paint them. I'm going to use black and silver as the style for this bin. I paint the decorative strips black, the lid black, and the main tube silver. I I go over the strips with a little bit of my tacky glue just to add a little bit of firmness, because later on we're going to be adding some UV resin for the extra realistic shine. So first, let's go ahead and paint these strips with some tacky glue. And now it's time for some resin. I'm going to use a silicone cup to put my resin in and use it to paint the tube and the strips. A silicone brush is preferable, but I didn't have mine to hand at the time, couldn't be bothered looking. But then I put the resin all around my tube and then I cure it. Again, it's to give it that realistic look. And like I said earlier, I do the same on the little strips as well, and then let them all cure. Now I'm ready to add the details and put my bin together. So I'm going to first add the strip across the bottom. It doesn't really matter if it's the top or bottom, it's the same size. I'll go ahead and put that strip all the way around and do the same to the top as well. So it's already looking really nice. And when they're dry, I can add my side strips, just simple like this. Now I'm able to add the little pedal at the bottom, which was spray painted grey as well. And I'm just going to stick that down. And to make the base of the bin, I just cut around some cardstock and then pushed it through the tube and then stuck it to the bottom. Nothing fancy, as this is going to be stuck down in the kitchen. Next, it's time to make the hinge. I'm going to add that on the main frame of the bin and the lid, just so it has that representation of it opening and closing. I'm going to use UV resin to stick this down just to get a firmer, stronger hold. But on the whole, this is looking pretty good so far. I'm going to make the bin bag or bin liner using some black gloves. I generally use black gloves when I'm crafting, so this is just perfect. And I feel like it's the perfect size. The rim of it represents a good size for a 1/12 scale bin bag. So I'm just going to cut off the base and I'm going to stick this inside the tube and have it hanging over the top a little bit so we don't see any more of that cardboard. This is just going to be plonked in there and stuck over the edges. I stick it down with my tacky glue to make it extra secure, and this looks so bloody good, guys. Now it's time to fill it with some trash. Got some pizza boxes. I'm going to show you how we make those very soon. So here is the trash can full to the brim. We've got goop coming out of the sides. Yeah, wine bottles, pizzas, noodles, the works. This looks so damn good. Happy trash day. And now we can't forget the light switch. I'm going to use some plastic sheets. I'm just going to cut it into a tiny square, pierce 2 holes in the side, and then just add a tiny little slither of a plastic sheet on top to represent the switch. Easy and simple. I can just use tacky glue and stick that right there. Perfect. And now with the trash can, I'm going to just stick that in a random place that mother would not approve, but who cares? The teenage boys run the show, so that will look perfect just there. And now with the boys being such perfect hosts, they decide to order some pizza because the pot of vegetable soup ain't cutting it. I start off by making some pizza and garlic bread molds using air dry clay to test it out, because this is my first time making pizzas. I didn't record this process because I didn't know how shite it was going to be, but I was pleasantly surprised by what I could do with the air dry clay. Even the cheese on this is air dry clay mixed with water, which is called a slip. And then I just added some color into it using the chalk pastels. I'm going to show you in a moment how I actually make this using polymer clay and how I make the sauce as well. These molds turned out so good. I was really happy with the first attempt, and to get the extra details I just used the chalk pastels just to paint over them and just to bring the pizza to life a little bit. But now I've got shapes, I can go ahead and mold these and I can make them time and time again, and I'm so happy. I also made some smaller ones with a piece missing so I can get a nice little imprint and mold on that. But it's so cool what you can do when you put your mind to it, guys. So let's go ahead and make these with the polymer clay. So I use a silicone putty to mold my masters. A 1:1 ratio is really good. It's really simple to use. So like these little tiny little garlic breads right now are also things that we're going to make. I'm just going to show you what it looks like once I've made the mold. So here they are in the mold, and I've made it for the pizzas as well. I just cast it around the pizza, wait for it to set, and then I could just pop them out and keep on reusing them. And the great thing about having master copies and molds, it makes it easy to rinse and repeat your favorite minis. So for these pizzas, I'm going to use the Fimo Soft in white. I'm going to follow the instructions on the packet for when it comes to baking. I'm just going to slice up the pieces that I need and then condition the clay so it's nice and soft and ready to go into the mold. And here are all the tools that I'm going to be using, including liquid Sculpey when it comes to making the sauce. Right, pizza time. Now I'm going to put the conditioned clay into the mold and then push it right in so I get all the little extra details that we had on the previous masterpieces. I don't want this to be a perfect circle, so I want it wedged right in, and then I'm going to take off any excess that I don't need. So now all my molds are full and I can start adding some extra details. I'm going to use my ball stylus or dotting tool just to add some extra details to make the shape of the base. I'm just going to press down and rub along so we get the crust and the base. We can see a definite divide in them both. I'm going to do that on both of the pizzas. You can see here again, I just press down with my dotting tool right up against the edge of the mold so we get that nice crust, and we can really see a defined difference between the base and the crust. And once I'm happy with that, I could just pop this out before it dries. That's looking really good so far, and we could take the other one out as well, and we could do the same with the garlic bread. Remember, these haven't set yet, so they are still very delicate to handle. But once the garlic pieces are out, I can add the rest of the detail to my garlic pieces. Now I'm going to use what I call my wire texture tool. I don't actually know the name of it, but it came as the kit where I bought all of my little tools from. But for the garlic bread, it's perfect just to punch those little holes to give that look of baked bread. And as well as my wire tool, I use my ball stylus, a smaller size, to go around the edges just to give that little dip that you'd normally find in the garlic bread. And I'm going to do that for all of the pieces. The textures are coming along really nice, but now I need to cut up the pieces of pizza. A couple of pieces of pizza. So I'm going to just use my blade to go through and cut up some pieces, get some chunks missing. So we've got the crust. So these pizzas are going to be eaten, used and abused. Some of them are left intact, some of them are not. But before I do any baking and shading, I get all the kind of pieces that I want to work with set out first, and then I could go ahead and paint them. I want some kind of folded over, you know, they're going to be slapped on the side and falling off. So I've already know in my head how I want the pizzas to look. So I'm just going to cut them all out, and then we could go ahead and add some more details to the inside. Again, using my little wire tool, I give it some more detail on the inside of the pizza now that it's been cut, because you can't have all the details on the top and then you look on the inside and it looks like clay. We're not doing that today, sir. And I'm going to use my wonderful chalk pastels to make all of the beautiful colors and bring the pizzas to life. Guys, link in the description, okay? These chalk pastels are my chef's kiss bae, okay? I love them. And this liquid Sculpey as well, it's perfect for making the sauce and the different cheeses. So I put a few different colors together because I didn't really know which ones were going to work. So this was a whole trial and error process. I did test them out earlier on my previous air dry clay pieces, but I didn't write down what colors I use. So I'm kind of winging it again, hoping to get a good contrast in colors to make the tomato sauce. For me personally, this is a fun part of the process, is working things out. I do enjoy just trial and error and coming up with things without a manual, and recording it makes it so useful as well, because you kind of have a log of what you've done, so you can look back and go, aha, those were the colors I used, this is what I did. So I really do enjoy the process of kind of learning as you go. The details for me is what I enjoy about making miniature food. It's, as I said, it's a new part of my adventure. Everything I touch on in the miniature world is pretty much new, and I absolutely love it. So we've got the tomato sauce put on the pizza. This piece that is on the wooden dowel here, I wanted it to set folded, because this one, this is the one that got away. So the sauce is looking good. I'm super happy with it. And now I can go ahead and make some pepperoni to go on the pizza. This was a new kind of experience, trying to make a cane. I've never made a cane before. So first I needed the color because I didn't actually have the color of pepperoni. So I just mixed in my chalk pastels and kept on going until I was happy with the color. These shades weren't too bad, and I know that I'm going to be going over them later with some more chalk pastel once they've been baked to add some more detail. So now I'm just kind of layering on the white, the pink, the maroon type colors together to kind of make a pepperoni. I don't know. And then I just kind of mush it and roll it all together, and then I kind of just hope that I've got something that looks like it. It's not too bad. It probably would have more little white dots in there, but for what we're doing it's perfectly fine. There are lots of mini food makers out there who probably have real techniques on how to do this. This is the bootleg version, guys. I said it first. Simone said it first. Get your bootleg pepperoni. But it works for what I'm doing, okay? So I'm going to cut up some tiny pieces, and then I'm going to actually reshape them with my dotting tool to make them a little bit flatter and more pleasing to the eye. So I try to kind of roll up the sides a little bit so it's got that cooked look, using different dotting tools, different shapes, and I'm really happy with these. So I go through all the little pieces that I slice, and then I just reshape them, and then we're going to paint them again a little bit later on. But first it's time to paint the pizzas, which have been baked and now are ready to get the extra texture and detail. Again, I'm going to be using my chalk pastels, which are here for the win. Trust me guys, I love these bad boys. If you don't mind painting your minis to bring the realism out, I say chalk pastels are fine. I've not really tried with acrylic paint. It probably works just as good, but for me, the chalk pastel is long lasting and you get the real nice details. So look, that crust is already coming together. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight it with some different colors. Make sure you get the base, guys, even if it's not going to be seen. That's my thing with miniatures. Even if you don't see it, make it look real, because the tiny details is what really matters to me. I want anyone looking at this to say, oh, oh, oh. Do you know, it's just like, oh, you put the details in there. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I enjoy when I'm looking at other people's work. It's like, wow, you really did that. I'm trying to get that kind of vibe with my own stuff as well. So we're going back in there with the tiny details on the garlic bread as well. Just using reference pictures as well can really help when you're dealing with miniature food, because sometimes it's quite hard to visualize it. It's like you think you know, and you're like, I don't know. So references really help. So these pizzas have been cooked already, so I really wanted to give that look of, you know, slightly browned and not burnt, but that nice little crisp effect. So getting around the edges, getting at the base, that is where we're going to see a lot of the extra details where it has been in the oven. And I'm going to go ahead and do this with all of the pieces. So here we have the bases and the garlic bread base done. And now it's time to add some cheese. I'm going to go in there with the liquid Sculpting, which is really, really good. So for the cheese, I'm going to start with this and then slowly start introducing some yellows to it, but very, very mildly. I found that making cheese was a lot trickier than I thought, because you just think, just do yellow. But when it comes to realism and a cooked pizza, it isn't actually just yellow, guys. But I will go in with the first layer of yellow. So I'm going to put this on all of the pizza and make sure to leave around the crust clear, and then just add my silicone tool just to add some extra lines so you can see the defined lines of the pizza shape and some of that tomato sauce coming from underneath. I also add some small dollops of white as well, just to show the different cheeses and where it would have moved, and again just to add some more depth to the color of the pizza. Next, I can add the pepperoni, so I'm going to use my silicone tool to just pick up the pepperoni and then stick it on all of my beautiful pizza. And before this all goes in the oven, I'm going to add some more texture to the pepperoni, because right now it's a bit flat and clay looking, and I still want it to have that realism. And I'm going to use some chalk pastels to paint over it again to give it that cooked in the oven look. So once this is done, we can pop it in the oven and then add the final details. So here's how we're looking so far. This is ready to go in the oven, but we still need to add details to the garlic bread. We need those extra delicious little herbs. So again, with the chalk pastel, I'm just going to sprinkle some green over the top of it to represent the herbs. And then with both of these, I can now add some gloss varnish to give it that realistic, greasy, delicious look. I find that the gloss varnish makes a huge difference when we're working with food. I absolutely love it, but you can see that looks nice and juicy. They both look succulent now. It looks like, oh yes, we could eat it. But first, we need pizza boxes. And yours truly, Mini Moderns, has made her own pizza boxes. They will be available for free for my tier 1 and up Patreons, and available soon in my Etsy shop as well if you want to get your own pizza boxes. You can print them out on paper, then stick them on cardstock, or put them straight on cardstock. But they do need to be a little bit firm, or you could just double them up on paper, depending on how you like to do it. I do give a warning, the color may vary depending on what you're printing them on as well, but who cares? Let's make some pizza boxes. So first, we're just going to cut out the corners of the top of the box. The score lines are on the box as well, so you can kind of follow where to fold the boxes. I've also put some hot air holes, if that's what you call them, but you want to make sure we get the heat out of those boxes so we're not getting a horrible soggy pizza. You could use a handheld drill or a toothpick, whatever you have to kind of drill out the holes. So once the holes are drilled, you can now follow the score lines to get the edges to fold the boxes. I'm going to just use some tacky glue to stick them together. I will be making a separate video for those who get it on my Patreon or buy it from the Etsy store with a bit more in-depth detail on how to make the box. But for now, we just need to get them pizzas in the box. Say it with me, guys. Looking good, my friend. And you guys know I'm all about the realism, so I've got to do it with the pizza box. So we're going to use some parchment paper or baking paper, whatever you've got. We're going to stick that into the bottom of the box because it's needed. That's what you'd get in a real box. You get some grease-proof paper with some grease. And that's what we're going to do right now. So first, we're going to cut our paper down to size so it fits nice and snug inside the box. Then I personally am going to use some tacky glue to stick this down. Once that's secure and dry, I'm going in there with my gloss varnish. Yes, I want that grease to look grease. Can you see it? Get it in there? And then we're going to let that settle down a little piece. And you know I have to go in there with my baby's chalk and pastel. Yes. Trying to get some of that grease-like pizza color, some orangey, yellowy tinges. They're going to look perfect on the bottom of the pizza box. So I just paint them on to get that nice little base of the pizza, and then I'm going to just simply wipe and dab it off just so we've got that nice little smear stain on there. Now this is looking realistic, guys. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. Yes, pizza stain, anyone? Let's just remove that. That's a little too much sauce on there. That's perfect. And now we can either put the pizza in the box, or we could just leave the box empty and open. World's your oyster, guys. As I like to say, Bob's your uncle. Fanny's your bloody aunt. Yes. And here's our wonderful stained pizza box. Obviously, teen house party, a lot of the pizza is going to be eaten. Some of them definitely can get shoved in the box, and you want to leave it so you can see some of the sauce around the side, some of that grease just around the edges there, or you can have some broken up half-eaten pieces. Oh, look at that, guys. We make sure you get that butter on the ones with the garlic bread too. So here are our lovely slices of pizza ready to go, ready to put in our room. Gotta have some of them extra greasy ones on the napkins as well. Stop it, behave. Pizza piled up on the counter, but it's one hanging on the side for me. So now it's time for us to make our ice bucket. And maybe I foreshadowed this, I don't know, but I saved my baby formula scoops when I was in my hoarding phase of everything needs to be saved because it can be a mini, and boy was I right. So I'll go ahead and just take my little clippers and cut off any excess that we don't need. Boom, we have a bucket, guys. Now it's time to make this icy. But first, I'm going to go ahead and spray paint this with some black gloss paint. I've got a little dip in the bucket there. That's going to be for our little prongs. Okay, so I was just winging it to make some ice cubes. I had like this little plastic. I don't know where this is from, but I decided to fill it with some UV resin because it was kind of like a square shape already. So I just filled it with UV resin, popped it out of this little bit of plastic, and luckily it didn't stick in there. So look, And then I go ahead and just chop this up into tiny little pieces. And then we got ourselves some ice cubes. Before we start putting the ice cubes in the bucket, I have to make the little prong, if that's what we're calling it. You know, the little ice scooper. I just use an empty can, wash it out, and then cut it up into a tiny strip. And then cut some like fork type shapes at the end of it. Just something really super simple, but that can now hang over the edge of our bucket. I'm going to just add some details to it. I'm going to keep it silver. And just put a nice little black strip across it, you know, matching set and that. I'm just going to use some multi-purpose glue and stick that over that little notch that we've got in there. So the thongs are then the thongs, stop it, the prongs will not be moving anywhere. Then I add the multi-purpose glue to the bottom of the bucket. And then I've had some of these silicone pieces that I thought, yeah, I'm going to use that as a filler. I had some left over for when I was making my jars and glasses, and I thought, oh, that's a good filler. Saves me using a whole bunch of resin. So I add the silicone, then I add a couple of cubes of my ice, then I add the UV resin, cure it, then add another layer of UV resin, add my ice cubes, cure it, and then basically just keep layering on until I've got a nice full bucket of ice. And when we're done, it should look like this. I then go ahead and make a bunch of stuff to put in the bucket and in the fridge. I do have a tutorial on how I make my own resin jars and glasses, all of that kind of stuff. So don't forget to check out that video for more of that. And now it's time for me to make a bunch of stuff to put in the fridge. This is my first time piece of chicken. And here are the molds. As I said, there's a previous video I'll show you how to make them. So now I'm just going ahead and making a whole bunch of stuff that we can put in the fridge. If you do want to see more in-depth tutorials on this, I can show you, but there's probably better videos out there. But I did thoroughly enjoy making these, and I'm actually going to be making some goodie shopping bags that will be in my Etsy store very soon. All of your essentials that you're going to need when you go shopping. So we're going to have some ham, some chicken, some hot dogs, you know, all of the covered stuff like the printables that I've made. I'm going to be making them myself. I'm making them as nice little goodie shopping bags. So if you don't want to actually make them yourself, look out for my Etsy shop, because I'm going to have a limited amount, but if you guys want more, I'll definitely do it. So look out for that. So we're going to have some mini modern shopping bags coming soon. So now I'm just going to lay this chicken on the tray, and then we're just going to wrap it with some cling film and use some of the printable labels. As I said, a lot of my printable labels are already available in my Etsy store and on my Patreon. For certain tiers on my Patreon, it's absolutely free. You can just go into the shop and then just grab them from the shop. And they'll also be available for some tiers to access already. So right now I'm just going to wrap up all the goods, because you know you got to get the food shopping. It's so exciting. But for this diorama, you may notice that I have a shoe on the tile. That little green thing in the back there, that's a shoe. And yes, that's going in the fridge. Why? Because there's a bunch of teens having a party and it gets a little wild. So here I'm going to make some minced meat, and I'm going to just put that on my little tray and then just wrap that as well. You can see I've made some eggs. I'm just using some foam to make the egg tray and just using my stylus to make the holes. And then I'm just going to stick my eggs in there, and then I'll be able to put those in the fridge. And I'm quite happy with how all this turned out, guys. I also used a fake nail container to hold the ham. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to use to make the ham? I have found some new ways to make my own containers, because I'm not always going to go out and buy some fake nails. But my daughter had some, and I was like, oh, that is the perfect size for a container. So here we've got a bunch of food shopping. As I said, I'll be making some of these food shopping bags in my Etsy store as well. A mixture of printables and handmades in mini modern bags as well. So watch out for it, guys. I do have some behind the scenes on my Patreon as well on how I make these shopping bags, and just experimenting, just trying to get a look behind how I think and do things. So if you are on certain tiers on my Patreon, you do get to see behind the scenes of some stuff that didn't quite make it to the video. But you can also get the printables, as I've said before, and make your own from scratch, or the mini modern shopping bags food shopping bags will be coming very soon. If they're not out already, then keep your eyes peeled, because I'm going to help you stock your fridge and your cupboards. So I got your back. But for right now, let's finish filling these cupboards. And also in previous videos, I showed you how to make the bottles, jars, glasses, bowls, all of that good stuff. So now I'm going to go ahead and put some of these into the scene. Little Coca-Cola. I'm going to put a few of these little bits of pieces. But before we completely fill the room with all of the decor, I've got something exciting to show you. As I said, this is a house party. You can tell by all the drunk. So we need someone in that house party, right? Right. So your girl went ahead and made her own doll. Yes, I made a teenage boy to go in this, and boy was it a journey. But I have mentioned in a previous video, just check this one out here, on making dolls and scaling, and it's something that I definitely want to do in the future. So this was a good way just to get some practice. So my first mission was to draw out my doll to scale and find out where, in terms of anatomy, where the folds are in the body and where I wanted to bend. And it's a very interesting project. As I said, if you check out the previous video, I am not somebody who draws at all. Being in the miniature world has allowed me to explore so many different skills that I never thought I had. So if you remember, this is Candice. I drew her and made her a while back, and one day she is one of the dolls that I want to make. Candice, Jasmina and Peyton are my 3 mini modern advisors, which I would love to make in the future. But for right now, they just help me with scaling and working things out. So I'm happy with the overall size. Now it's time to make the armature. So I had 2 types of wire. One was just like regular wire, and then I got some of this kind of soft aluminium wire, and I felt that it worked a lot better. And I've also got my pliers, some cutters, all the little bits and pieces, and obviously a ruler for scale and making sure that everything is even. So I'm going to use a method where I use 1 piece of wire to make the whole of this armature. So basically I start from the top of the head, making sure that it's the right height. I then just follow my model to make all of the joints, just using my wire and just measuring as I go. So I start from the head, then I go over to my shoulder, then find the kink in my shoulder, and then fold it down to the elbow, and then just keep on going, just using my picture as a reference to know when to get my kinks and fold. So we keep going down, and then when we get to the hand, this is where you could use your fingers or your pliers just to make a loop at the end. So you see where the tip of the finger is, and you just kind of want to get your pliers just to make a loop to represent the hand. So I'm just going to show you here. You can just pinch it and then just wrap it around, just make a small little loop. For now, this is just to make the little skeleton, so we've got something to work with. And now at this stage, we're just going to corkscrew all the way around what we've just done. So this is going to give it that extra layer of protection, make it thicker, and also help the joints stay in place. So we're going to wind all the way up to the neck. And just keep on going, and because it's so soft and movable, if it does lose its shape, you can just hold it up against your picture and get the shape back. Just press it and fold it back into place. So you just keep on screwing right now. So I know this is all the length of the arm. I can put the kinks in there when I need to, and now I'm just getting up to the shoulder. You see, I can just bend that, my arm can just move however I want it to. So it's great for shaping and remodeling. So I'm going to just leave it like that, so I know that is my elbow crease. So you see here now, I can press it up. I've got my head, my shoulders, and then my spine. And now I can also work on my hip area. So I'm just going to bend the wire again, just like we did before. We're going to focus always on one side first. So just like we did with the arm, we're going to get the length of the leg with the wire, and then we're going to come all the way back up. So once we get down to the foot, we're going to make that loop at the bottom like we did with the hand and wire all the way back up. So I'm going to show you now. So like before, we just follow the leg down. You don't necessarily have to do the kink in the knee just yet, but we can, as long as the height and the measurements are right. If you want, you can just pinch it and do a little bend just to make sure you've got everything in place, just like this. And then we see you've got the rest of the leg here. So just like before, when we get to the bottom, we're just going to make a slight little loop. So we've got the heel and the toe. Just pinch it. It's a bit finicky, but it's not too bad. It's not perfect, but this is the method that I'm using and it seems to work. If you have made armatures before and you've got some tips for me as well as a beginner, please do share them in the comments. I'm always here to learn and explore. So there we've got the heel. I've just drew a little foot on the side, so I've got more of a reference for the size of the foot. And we're just going to make a whole loop, make that go back. And then just like before, we're going to corkscrew all the way up to the hip again. So you can see the loop, it's just a little foot. It's not perfect, but it's got to do for what we need. So as I said, the wire is so nice and soft. We can just easily just twist and corkscrew, and you can get it nice and tight as well. It does make it a little bit more sturdy. So just having a firm grip at the bottom and then just keep on wrapping the wire around. So let me just show you here. So you just get a little example. So you just wrap, there we have it, and just twist. It's super nice and soft and easy to twist, and it doesn't hurt the hand or anything like that. So the soft aluminium foil I definitely recommend. So now we've gotten up to the hip bone again, and then simply this time we're just going to go across to the other side. So you can see everything kind of measures up into place. Just keep on using your picture as a reference just to make sure everything is as you want it to be. So now we're going to just do the same on the opposite side. We're going to go across to this hip, going to go down the leg in exactly the same manner. We're going to corkscrew all the way up. We're going to go up the spine, and then we're going to work on the other shoulder and go across and come back up again. So it's just using one piece of wire going up and down that one piece. I've just found that this is so much easier because you can see here, once we get up to the middle, you just want to make it nice and tight in the middle of that joint there. Corkscrew your way all the way up again. And as I said, once we get to the shoulder, just repeat how it started. But you do definitely want to make it nice and secure at that neck joint as well. So we're here again. We're going to go over to the other shoulder. It's just making sure that all the joints are secure. Just follow the pattern as before, line it up, go all the way down the wire, make a loop for the hand, and then corkscrew all the way back up until we get to the head. Okay, once we're done there, it's time to like mess around with shapes and stuff. As I said earlier, our guy is going to be drunk as a skunk, sat in the fridge or sat on the floor of the fridge. So I'm just going to add the rest of this wire to the head and then just make a kind of loop going around. This is still my first time trying this, but I'm pretty happy that I've got a skeleton to work with. And it just makes it so much fun to learn different techniques. So for what I'm doing now, this is absolutely perfect. It's going to work well. So I just make like a little loop at the top for the head, nothing major, nothing serious. And then you can just cut off any excess when you're done. Okay, here's my guy. He's done. He's ready to roll. And because I've got the little kinks for his feet and stuff, he's actually able to stand. So if I was making this a standing model, I'm glad, but it's not. Look at him. I got to get him laying in that position. So now this is the tricky part, trying to figure out how the body works and function and stuff. So, but to get started, I'm going to fill this out with some foil first, so I don't have to use as much clay. So I'm just going to go around the whole body and just layer it up with some foil. I didn't need to use too much foil because he's a teen, he's quite a slim build, so this was quite good. And then I'm just going to use some masking tape as well and go over the whole thing with masking tape just so that it helps the clay grip a little bit more. Depending on what you're using to make a doll as well, the armature or the foundation could be different for you. So here's our menace, starting to look really good. I've managed to position him how I want him. So this is really the fun part is really kicking into place now. So I'm going to just use air dry clay. You can use whatever clay you like if you're doing this with polymer clay, because then obviously you can do it in stages and put it in the oven. But I really do enjoy using air dry clay. It's cheap, it's cheerful, and I have it on hand. So we're going to go ahead and fill his body completely. And what I like about using the air dry clay is that you can just add water to get some shape back if it does start to dry out, and it's quite forgiving. So I'm just padding it and trying to add the texture of skin where I can, you know, like the thighs, and just extra bumps and clumps wherever I can. But so far, so good. Working on the head was quite tricky for me because it's so damn small, and obviously his head is facing down, so I'm still trying to make sure it looks proportionately right. So it's all learning right now, but his head is going to be down, you know, in the drunken. So I tried to make the dip where the eyes would be, and I'm going to just slowly just add the details to the face. It's not going to be great, guys, I can tell you that now, because we're not really going to see his face. I'll just start padding him out, you know, giving him a little chest and whatnot. He's a teenage boy, he does keep himself in shape, but this is coming along just layer by layer, just using my fingers and some of my silicone tools just to add more texture to the body. I feel like with something like this, it's really trial and error. It's really therapeutic in some kind of way. You're just relaxing and just getting in there and slowly building it up, and this was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to make more dolls in the future. Even getting to the stage of making ball joint dolls, that would be amazing. But for now, I'm just going to work with what I'm doing, enjoying the process, learning as we go, but definitely can't wait to have some more dolls in the future. I'm going to just sculpt up this guy, give him a little shape and texture, maybe throw in a little six-pack or something, but he's nearly ready to set and dry. Okay guys, hands. Oh my goodness, this was hard to do. It was so small and finicky, so I ended up having to like pull the top off so I could work out where the can would go, because I wanted him to have a can in his hand, and basically I want to hook my hand on, so I made a little hook. Oh man, this was really something. So I kind of shaped how I wanted the hand to be, and then just put some lines in it to represent fingers, but it wasn't fun. No, it wasn't fun at all, guys. This part, especially at this scale, ooh, maybe if it was at Barbie scale, you know, 1/6, it would have been a bit easier, but at 1/12 scale, trying to do a hand, look, you can see the mess that I'm having, but I eventually got there. Picture I showed you earlier was the end result, so we got there, but it's a messy job. It's interesting, and I definitely can't wait to learn how to do more. But like with everything, it's trial and error and patience, and it's very interesting working with clay and sculpting. It's interesting. It's not easy, so I take my hat off to those of you who do this. It's insane, okay? And I can't even draw hands, so trying to make one, I mean, as I said, the end result wasn't too bad. It worked, but then it was trying to get the wrist to look like a wrist, and look, we got there in the end. That is the main thing. I just got to clean it up a bit, but now it's time for us to go ahead and make some clothes. So I just cut out some paper as a template for his top and bottoms. I've got these paint pens, which I used as my marker, and I got a few different bits of fabric to make his clothes. It's a house party, so he's going to be casual, so I thought just a nice grey top with some kind of combat pants or something. So I'm using my multi-fabric sew glue. It dries super quick, don't need to get the sewing machine out for this one, and it's easy if you make mistakes, if you need to like pluck it apart and then rejig things. So I go ahead and stick my two pieces of fabric together to make the t-shirt. Then I just use some little clamps to press it down and dry it. I had a thought when I was doing this. How am I going to get this on? So I managed to get one part on, and as I said, because this hasn't fully set, I was able to pull half of the top apart and then mold it around him. I didn't think of that when I was making it, so note to self, this isn't a movable doll, so yeah, I had to kind of pull part of it apart and then re-stick it together. But we got the end results. We got our results in the end. It still look clean. You see here, guys, not too shabby. We still managed to get the nice little seam lines. It looks clean, it looks fresh. And because I said a grey shirt with the little camo look, I'm gonna put a little pocket on his shirt as well, giving it the camo look. He's gonna have a hat on, so that's gonna match the pants. So it was a whole outfit. This guy was fly. And just like the top, I'm gonna cut out the 2 pieces and then I'm gonna stick them onto him instead of trying to put the pants on him, which is just not necessary. So I just stick the 2 pieces to him separately, just making sure they've got a nice clean look and I can actually like mold it to him a little better opposed to me trying to put the pants on. I also use hot glue as well to taper this down because it gives it a nice cleaner look. And look at him with his little jeans. Hello, stop it. Got the edges folded. He's got his pocket on. Yes, I just need to clean up some little bits, but not too much because he was a drunken mess after all. So now I can go ahead and just finish some of those extra details. I put a little piece in the middle there for his zip. You probably can't see it, but he's got a zip on there. Little tiny something. Tiny details, guys. Tiny details. So now for his hair, I actually have some little packs of hair for making dolls. So again, foreshadowing my future, I bought these years ago. I actually used it on a crochet doll. If I can find a picture, I'll show it. And so I just cut off the hair, not neat at all, just leaving a bald spot on the top because I want to make a hat to put on there. I experimented making clay hats, but then I made myself a little template and then added fabric to it. So the template is just like a little wave shape with 6 little notches on it. You fold it over and then just stick it together. And then I added the peak of the cap, added some material, and then we've got it. But before I can call him finished, I need to paint him. What should we call him, guys? Ralph. Yeah, Ralph. So go ahead and paint Ralph with different textures using my chalk pastels. I come up with a few different textures for skin colors, and I thought that this would look quite nice, just blended in different colors. And I feel like I got the colors for him. Now to add his finishing touches, I'm going to put the little can in his hand. I put some tacky glue in his hand and just to stick the can on there. I've cleaned up any of the weird little gluey pieces that we had around, trimmed his hair, cut it up. So I think Ralph is looking pretty dapper. Look at our little menace go. Guys, Ralph is complete and he is ready. Look at his face. I'm not going to lie, super happy with Ralph. Perfect addition to the house party. We're going to put him in the room later. Right now we're going to just sit and let him get drunk a little bit longer, but yeah, super impressed with that. And his outfit's looking pretty good. Now it's time to fill the rest of this room. So guys, Mum and Dad have gone away for the New Year's Eve weekend. Thought they could have a little romantic time alone away from their 3 teenage boys. Boys, there's plenty of food in the house. Look at this shoe, guys. Shoe in the fridge. Have you ever in your life? Never. Mum made them a nice pot of soup, made sure there was food in the cupboard, said you can have 1 or 2 friends over for New Year's. 1 or 2 friends. Don't trash the place. It's a new kitchen. We spent a lot of money on this. You know, all of the warnings. The boys are like, yes, Mum, yes, of course, of course. So they did what any other teenage boys would do when they've been told not to do something. They did the thing and they did it big. The eldest son, Luke, said, boys, it is on tonight. We are getting the girls, we're getting the lads, and we are going to have a party. Mum's left us some money to get some pizzas as well. We're going to get the pizzas in. Dad won't mind if we have a couple of beers. Let's hit up with some of that mini modern champagne they got over there. Look at old Ralphie boy. Bearing in mind, not all of these are overage too. There's only one who's of age who can actually drink, and Ralph is not that guy. They got something to smoke on over here. Boys, what have you been doing? But they got caught red-handed. There is proof, there is evidence. Someone took this snapshot of that night. They'll never forget it. And they'll never forget the trouble that they got in when their parents got home too. Oh goodness. And Luke, the eldest, got one of the girls to come over and make us some brownies. So this party was lit. They had a great New Year's Eve, that is for sure. Guys, remember this all started from a prompt from my miniature prompt journal, which is available on Amazon as a book, or you can download and print it yourself from my Etsy store or from my Patreon, or DM me if you want me to get you a copy or something, because guys, these prompts are fantastic. It gives you a little inspiration to start something. This started as a fridge, turned into a whole freaking nightmare. And most of these printables are available in my Etsy shop on my Patreon too. So remember to jump in and join in, guys. Woo! Here you can see the prompt. It started back in May, finished in October 2024. We are in 2025. So you know how long this has taken me to edit and prepare and do all of this. It has been wild, but it's been great. So I've got my concept, the drawing, I stick that in the book. Then I've got the final results, I stick that in the book, and I can keep on working and doing prompts. If you want to be part of this too and do your own prompts, get your book, and then we can connect ourselves, maybe come up with something and work together. I would love to do some of this in my Patreon and in my Facebook group. So if you've got any suggestions, let me know, guys, so you can always look through your book. This was the first thing. Anyway, I digress. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let's take a look at the final results. It's just a beautiful New Year's Eve day. The house is tranquil, quiet. Mum and Dad have gone away with a clear set of instructions. Enjoy your night, guys. There's soup on the stove. You can invite 1 or 2 friends over. Nothing too large, nothing too crazy. Mum's gone shopping, filled the fridge with all of the good stuff. Mini modern shopping, lined up, ready to go. Boy says, yeah, Mum, Dad, have a good one. We're just going to be chilled over here. Boy, that was a lie. Like, share, subscribe.